good evening. Somehow I realized that I'm taking class mostly at 8 p.m. these days, and most of you may be having dinner awaiting at that time. So that is a problem. But let's see what we can do about it. So today we are going to discuss about a third trimester scan. So I would like to. Uh, so the third trimester scan, what all we are doing in the third trimester scan? Number one. Number two is what are the patient group we are doing a third trimester scan to? So are we doing it to all the patients, or we are doing to a certain group of the people? So this is a very important thing because everyone is going to get a biometry scan at least. So even at the lowest centers where they are going to get a biometry scan to be done. And most people are not aware that in the third trimester scan they're supposed to do Dopplers or not supposed to do Dopplers. Some says that if there is a discrepancy of 2 to 3 weeks in the biometry, then we will do Doppler. So is it so? What are the guidelines telling us? What are our seniors telling us? And what are the IRIA guidelines? And again, what are the international guidelines? We need to be aware of them. So here we have to understand that IRIA as well as ISWOG says that in the biometry scan, you have to offer Doppler to all the patients. Okay, so whenever you are doing a third trimester scan, it has to include Doppler. So the question comes is what all Doppler then we need to do? We need to do umbilical, MCA, or all uterine, or what all do we need to do? So again, and then we also need to know if we have to measure the Liger, is it going to be the single deepest vertical pocket method, or is it going to be the all pocket method, all quadrant method, and the summation of all, which is going to give you the best results? And then the patient may say that I'm feeling some heaviness, and even if she is not feeling heaviness, then we are supposed to screen for preterm. So how are we going to do that? If a patient is coming to us at 28 weeks and seeing that the cervix is shortened, suppose it has become 1.5 centimeters, and I have not measured it correctly. Suppose it was 1.5 centimeters and I have measured it from the abdomen, transabdominal scan, and I have given the length as suppose 2.5 centimeters, because there can be abnormal elongation of the cervix because of the bladder pressure. So now the cervical length will change, and then the outcome of this pregnancy will also change, because 1.5 centimeter cervix means she may land up into the preterm labor. So what are the protocols of a third trimester scan? We need to understand that what all we are looking at. One part is biometry that you all must be aware by now. Second part is Doppler. Some of you may be aware of it. The third thing becomes AFI. AFI, then again, whether to take single deepest or the quadrant method, we will be talking about it. Next comes cervical length. You have to give that in all the pregnancies. Then we have to see whether, again, we have to screen for the placenta. At level 2 scan, if it was written as low lying or not written as low lying, we're going to screen it again. And then we also need to screen for the vasa previa. So the latter two things, that is the cervical length and the screening for the low lying placenta, has to be a transvaginal. So every scan, even in the third trimester, has to have a transvaginal examination as well. And then the ISOG also says now that you have to do a certain part of the anomaly in the third trimester also, because there are some abnormalities which are not detected at the level 2 scan, and they are evident only in the third trimester. So the problem is that suppose there is bowel dilation, suppose there is tracheoesophageal fistula, which you may have missed because the stomach size you measured in the level 2, and you saw that the fundic bubble was present, but you didn't bother about the size of the fundic bubble. And as obstruction proceeds, as the fetal swallowing increases, and we see that the fundic bubble size is not increasing. So such abnormalities are usually evident during the third trimester. Even the anorectal atresias, where you have bowel dilation, those may not be seen in the second trimester. And then cardiac abnormalities, various cardiac abnormalities, especially in the diabetic patients, where you have septum hypertrophy, you can have cardiomyopathies, you can have conduction defects. So those things may not be available in the first or the second trimester, and they're seen only in the third trimester. So the third trimester scan comes to inclusion of all those things, right? So first question is when to do a third trimester scan. So there are varying protocols which are followed in various centers. Some say that you start doing it at 28 weeks, then 32 weeks, and 36 weeks. But ESWOG does not support doing so many number of scans in the third trimester to all the patients, right? So there is no any definite guideline which says that it has changed any maternal or fetal outcome by doing so many number of scans for patients. So what we can do is we can categorize patients based on our first and the second trimester ultrasound. So if you remember that in the first trimester we talk about the risk of preeclampsia, and I also told you that it also gives a risk of FGR, right? So if the FGR risk is high risk, then these are the group of patients who can receive ultrasound even before 32 weeks. Now for the low risk population, where the population is not at everything is going normally and there is no previous risk also of FGR. So in those patients especially, we can just do a signal scan in the third trimester at around 32 weeks. Okay, at around 32 weeks, and then depending upon the findings at 32 weeks, we can plan the subsequent scans, right? Then those patients who are at high risk of FGR, or the patient has diabetes, if the patient has APLA or any other finding which was found at the anomaly scan, and you need to follow up that finding, those are the patients who can have this scan before 32 weeks, starting at 28 weeks. For example, and patient comes lands up in bleeding, there is rupture of membranes. Okay, so all those patients can receive it. Then it says that the minimum gap of 3 weeks between two biometry scans has to be there. So if you remember that I took a class on Doppler, and I said that the findings on ultrasound is going to to actually tell you when to do the further scans. That is, the management of the pregnancy is also going to be guided by our findings. So, but you remember that it was said that you maybe need to do Doppler twice in a week. Then we also said that sometimes we need to do Doppler every 2 days, right? But here I'm saying that minimum gap of 3 weeks is there. So you understand the term is biometry here. It is not Doppler. So in FGR pregnancy, you are going to call the patient maybe if there is a high grade of FGR, then we will be repeating Doppler maybe every third day, but we're not going to repeat biometry on all the visits, because now there can be error in measurements also. We are measured because biometry includes measurement of head, abdomen, and FL. And the slightest change in the caliper, maybe I placed it from one end to end, but the sometime I place it obliquely, maybe straight. So there can be discrepancy. So any change will not be evident before 3 weeks. So these are the NHS guidelines, not the ESWO guidelines. So what NHS says is that you categorize these patients as low risk, moderate risk, or high risk based on the previous ultrasounds. And for the low risk, just do the standard fundal height. You go to the clinician and she will measure the fundal height. If it is optimum and she's not feeling that the Leica is less or the baby size is less, then she may not want a Doppler before 32 weeks. If it comes high and continue every 2 days until delivery, right? For moderate risk patients, they have to start the again fundal height measurement at 28 weeks, and then these patients, moderate risk patients, can have ultrasound beginning at 32 weeks. If the patient lands up at high risk of FGR, then apart from measuring fundal height, you have to do ultrasound starting from 28 weeks. So agar fundal height is normal, then no need of even one ultrasound, but usually we are doing at one ultrasound at least at 32 weeks. If the patient on clinical examination and on the risk assessment looks like moderate, start at 32 weeks. If it is high risk, then starting at 28 weeks. So how are we going to start with the scan? So I want to start with a very basic, when the patient has entered, and how we are going to start this scan. My slides are visible, no? Someone has written stuck. My slides are visible. Okay. So as soon as a patient enters, you have to put the details of the patient, right? So the most important part is you have to ask the patient. Many times we just don't ask, because sometimes the we just uh, randomly put the LMP कि आखिरी बार महीना कब आया था in Hindi, and then we just put the LMP and we start with the scan. So very important is that you have to ask the patient whether the pregnancy was a triggered pregnancy, was a spontaneous conception. If it was an IVF pregnancy, we're not going to put the LMP as such. You make a protocol that you have to ask all the patients whether the pregnancy was natural, spontaneous, or was ART. Because we have a tendency that if whatever measurements we are going to get, we are going to uh, correct the EDD. We will say that the dating has been changed, right? But for ART pregnancy, you cannot change the date. Whatever is the embryo transfer date, you are going to put that, and you also will take whether a day 3 embryo or a day 5 embryo was implanted. According to that, you will have a date. If it was a spontaneous pregnancy, always check in the first trimester if the dating was changed. Okay. Then again, as I always say, that first before coming onto the fetus, you see everything else, because otherwise you will forget to see everything else and you'll be led by the fetus only. So if this is a patient who is lying, you start, your probe, you put your probe here and you scroll it downwards. So first you just take an overview where the uterus height is, like fundal height is reaching. Now how, what is the uterus shape? ऐसा तो नहीं है कि एक यूनिकॉन्वेट यूट्रस में विद प्रेगनेंसी इन द one horn and there is a rudimentary other horn, uniconvert uterus or biconvert. If there is a big fibroid which is stucking towards the cervix, if there is some large adnexal mass, in all other patients in the adnexa, you're not going to you will just screen if there is any adnexal abnormality. You may not see the ovaries in all the patients, and that is not required also, but you need to screen for the adnexa, that if there is any adnexal mass or not, right? And then you come downwards, further downwards, and you see the cervix. So you don't if you're seeing any gross cervical mass or anything, right? Then with this screening, you've already seen whether the baby was a single baby or was a twin baby. If because if it was a single if it was a twin baby, how is the lie of one fetus, like if it is like transverse or oblique on the other one, how is it like? You will categorize it, the twin, you'll categorize it if it is a mono or a dichorionic pregnancy. You will see whether where the placenta is lying, or if it is low lying or not low lying. Especially when the placenta is anteriorly lying, you always see that whether this the relation to the cesarean scar. So if the placenta is anterior and it is previa, there are very high chances that it is going to be an adherent placenta. That is why it has not migrated up with the serial growth of the uterus. So you need to screen for placenta creta spectrum in those patients, right? So once we are comfortable, now we know that okay, this is the baby now, and we have seen everything else. Now we start seeing this baby right now. So then we talk about the because we are doing a third trimester scan when mostly the fetal position fixes. Mostly, I'm saying it still changes, but in the mostly it remains like if it is cephalic, it is unusual that it changes. Okay, so you talk about the presentation. If it is cephalic, then you just bring your probe here and you see the head. Okay, so then you are going to take the measurements.